So and there goes like the benefits from that, and to Mina's point, now we have to deal with, like, now we're going to basically talk about that relationship between the insurance companies and
Right,
the doctors throughout
right,
this, right?
right.
You mentioned HIPAA. For those who don't know what HIPAA is, can you briefly just explain basically its function, um and then we can talk about its relevancy over time in the episode.
Sure. HIPAA is, as many may have heard it before, is basically a privacy act that essentially it entitles the patient to a slew of privacy that protects their medical data. Okay, and I don't mean data just like data. I mean their medical information.
Hmm.
So when you talk to a doctor, much like if you talk to a lawyer, whatever you tell them is very confidential.
Hmm.
In fact, if they break that confidentiality, that's not only illegal, they can, face questions and lose their license for that.
Hmm.
But the point is, HIPAA goes several steps further, and there's a lot of, you know, it evolved over several decades. I don't know. You could probably look up and see. I forget what year it was originally instituted, but it evolved into what has become just not only inefficient but also backwards, protection of information. And let me explain what I mean by that. I said earlier how HIPAA has problems with emailing, but faxing is considered a-okay.
Yeah.
Why is that? Well, HIPAA was made at a time when email wasn't really a prevalent method of communication. It was either basically you put a stamp on it and put it in a mailbox, you pick up the phone and say it through your words, or you can use this amazing breakthrough technology of something called a fax mill,
Mm.
aka a fax, where if you pick up the phone and you ever heard one, it's like dee, da, da. So of course, who could understand what the heck the machine is saying? I
Yeah.
mean, so that's secure, right? I mean, I mean that was the logic behind, obviously, why faxing is secure and why email is problematic. Since email can be, and goes through so many intermediaries
Mm.
physically, like when you send an email, it's at a hosting company. It can be uh, retrieved, by people that aren't physically at the location where, that's why there's all these problems with it. HIPAA, even, for example, forces practices, and again, this is just assuming they do right by HIPAA,
Hmm.
they're not allowed to have sign-in sheets. You ever been to a doctor's office where they have a sign-in sheet?
Mm.
Yeah.
That's a violation of HIPAA.
Mm. I didn't
Really?
I didn't
People
know that.
wouldn't. And so now what they may do is they'll still have the sign-in sheet, but they put them on labels so that as soon as you sign in, they
They
take your
remove
label
it.
I
and
see.
then put it. But I see that and I say, you guys are missing the point. We need to just throw away paper and pen in medical offices.
Yeah.
We have the technology and the software to totally support the workflow of any, thriving medical practice.
Mm. So why don't they? Why is it? What's the hesitation? What's going on with these doctors' offices from adopting like what's currently available?
Great question. And that was something I would face on a daily basis, challenges or reasons why doctors wouldn't feel like they're ready to take the leap. A lot of it, in many cases, had to do with money.
Mm.
But with President Barack Obama's administration came, several incentives to digitize medical data.
Hmm.
For example, the Meaningful Use Act, which they were basically allowing doctors to um, buy specific EMR systems that were certified meaningful use by the government, meaningful use ready, and in turn they get a bonus for the purchase.
Mm. To move away from a paper system, Obama administration basically just said like you need to get off paper system, get on EMR.
Right. We need to not we. They didn't want to necessarily come out and say we're penalizing you
Mm.
for not doing it,
We'll
but we'll
incentivize you.
incentivize you for doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to also keep in mind that one thing I learned over the years working with doctors is, first off, they're very smart people, but a lot of them are stuck in their own ways.
Mm.
God bless them.
Yeah.
And I can tell you stories that would amaze you, but you know,
Is it generational or is it like do you not see these issues anymore? And like for example, our generations, like
I'll
coming
tell you a
into
quick story
doctors?
because I told this to somebody yesterday. I did a demo once for microWise for a podiatrist.
Okay.
I the first thing I say when I sit down is show me how you do your encounter notes, okay? I swear to you, and I'm not exaggerating, this guy, it looked like he was creating a ransom note, out of a movie. He cuts sentences out and glues them together with a glue stick and forms a note by taking sentences. He's got it's like an art project. And I was thinking to myself, wow, I'm going to blow this guy away because I'm going to show him how just with a few taps, you're going to have this 2-page beautiful note. And I did my demo. I showed it to him. And you want to know what his first question was afterwards?
How much is it?
How am I going to get my sentences glued into the computer? He's thinking about how he's going to glue because he was so attached. You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like he was so
what do you know?
indebted into what he knows of the glue. He couldn't, remove himself for a moment to think, wait a minute, maybe let me just put this aside and think that there is possibly a better way of doing this. It's hard to break that barrier because a lot of people have been doing this for many years. Keep in mind, a lot of these doctors have been practicing for 30, 40 years. And, who am I to come along and say, listen, throw that out the window,
Yeah.
right? So
It's basically like, who the hell are you? I've been doing this all this time and I've been doing fine,
it's only
basically.
natural,
Yeah.
and you have to obviously be respectful when you show it to them. You have to understand that a lot of doctors, they're very, they're they don't like people coming in and doing things that in any way can make it even perceive that it's helping or pushing them to make decisions that they don't want to make. Like, I don't want a computer telling me what patients are at risk of something. I know what patients are at risk. You know what I
I
mean?
see. Okay.
And I
Do you
don't
think
know
it's
if
because it's a risk factor because of all the effort that has gone to that point of their career that
They
they're
don't wanna
at
feel
they're
replaced.
responsible.
exactly, they don't want to feel like they're being replaced or that there's somebody watching them or looking at them and saying that, hey, maybe you're not as good as you think you are. And that's, of course, not the intention here,
Yeah.
just to be very clear. But it's just natural that people tend to think that way. For example, when I would do a demo, a lot of staff, if they're in the room, they think to themselves, wait a minute, this software may make my job obsolete. I shouldn't be for this. But I make it clear to them and say to them, this allows your staff to focus on more revenue generating tasks. Maybe they're doing things now that aren't generating so much revenue for the practice. Wouldn't it be great if you can use those same staff members to do things like market the practice in better ways or in other ways to get more patient flow? And that's the more productive way of looking at it.